What up, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City, Greg Hazy, and as always, I'm joined by the Gotham Knight, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, Chris Boyce. And today we're in the Hall of Spoilers to rank every single DC TV show from 2018, in the Arrowverse in particular. We're going to throw in Black Lightning as well here, but everything on the CW basically in terms of DC TV. We're talking about Black Lightning Season 1, Supergirl Season 3, Legends of Tomorrow Season 3, Arrow Season 6, and The Flash Season 4. We are ranking from top, or rather bottom to top, with the last show being at the very top. Our number one show from 2018, DC CW TV. D Boyce, who is at the bottom? Who disappointed us? Who just made the worst season we could possibly think of, man? This is a disappointment at the bottom here, man. At number 5.
If you would have told me this about a year or so ago, I would not have believed it. I'm honestly shocked that we're here. In 2018, disgusted. The year of our Lord here. And we're ranking The Flash Season 4 at the very bottom as the worst season out of this crop of Arrowverse seasons for 2018. The Flash. At one time, the show that was the beacon of hope. As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, the chosen one. You were the chosen one. Dogs, what happened?
What happened?
I'm shocked.
Dude. What happened? Chris Boyce, what happened? What happened this season, dude? Talk to me, man. Like,
a lot of malarkey happened. I mean, the villain squandered. It was bad. They had an opportunity there. Because when the central actor who played DeVoe,
Neil Sandilands, man.
Neil Sandilands was DeVoe. It was good, but
he was great.
He was pretty good. But there was all this body swapping that, you know, he kind of took us away. We didn't get that chance to be familiar with him. And then on top of that, just whatever the heck his scheme was, it just kind of plodded along and plodded along and plodded along. And then the reverse of that, you have the main character, the Flash, was probably the least interesting character in this entire season. The main character, the Flash. It's kind of, I mean, if you know anything about the Flash, you know that it's a little difficult to make him not interesting. And they somehow made him super boring. And they had a major storyline, which was supposed to be a major storyline, the trial of the Flash.
Oh.
And it was whack.
Oh, man, I forgot about that. I didn't even... Listen, okay. Thank you for saying all that, because you sort of brought me closer to what I wanted to highlight.
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems, the bus metas. Like, the bus metas themselves were not that interesting. And, you know, there were some spotty CGs, particularly the radioactive dude. I don't remember his name, and quite frankly, I don't care to even talk about his name. I don't know his name, and I don't care.
I want to say it's Fallout, which sounds
yes,
very generic.
It was Fallout, and I wish he would have fell out of the show. Just not even be in the show, man. Just, you know, there was spotty CG there. The bus metas were not that interesting, and to be honest with you, it felt a little bit silly at times. You know, I felt like they sort of squandered how compelling DeVoe was. Like, DeVoe, played by Neil Sandilands, was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. Whenever he was playing the character. Whenever anyone else was playing the character, no. It just was not working. He lost all the gravitas. And when he came back and he was this arrogant, you know, thinker, I was like, this is what we needed. But it happened too late.
Too late.
Like, one of the highlights of the season to me was when DeVoe sort of had his, like, Daredevil, you know, fight scene where he just destroyed, like, a whole bunch of security guards, you know, and yes, that was awesome. Yeah. And I wish the season had more of that. And now why the season's at the bottom is because I think it squandered potential. And I think because it fell so far from being so good, for me personally. Absolutely. And then, you know, you brought up Barry Allen, and we've talked about this, you know, off of being, you know, on SSL, man, talking here with the league. We've talked about this personally. And Barry is the least important character in the Flash. It just feels that way. They're focusing on everything else, and it takes away from his arc. Yeah. He's also like, I feel like his growth has been stunted by having the focus be on so many other people. And he's like still terrible at training people, more or less. And I'm just kind of like, you know, he goes from, oh, we need to beat the vote. We need to beat the vote. He's obsessed. And then he gets talked down. And then he has hope. And then something bad happens. And he's obsessed. And it's just like we're going in circles with Barry now. Grant Gustin is probably the best thing about The Flash. Yeah. You need to highlight him. Yeah. And if people are taken away from that, they need to go. Case closed, in my opinion. Like, they need to go, or they need to be given an arc or a storyline that isn't so closely tied to him to the point where it takes away from him.
They need to reduce Team Flash. I mean,
I really feel that way.
You want to make a quote unquote darker storyline? Kill some of those people. Kill some of those characters. Rather,
you don't even need to go dark, because I honestly think the Flash is better when it's not super dark.
True,
but like, you need to focus on him.
True, and
you need to focus on him.
To that point about the Flash being better when it's not dark, probably the shining beacon of this season was Ralph Dibny, who reminded us of what was great about the Barry Allen character in the first 2 seasons.
Right. Like, he was sort of like an anti-Barry, where he started off as being sort of, you know, not the best guy in the world, but, you know, he slowly turned around. And even him, he had some inconsistent character arcs where he showed growth, and then all of a sudden he's a coward and he's afraid and he's being mean to people. And I'm like, yo, pick whatever you want to do with him and stick with it.
Yeah.
And that describes this season. I think they had so many people that they sometimes didn't even know what to do with them. So I'll leave it at that, man. Coming in at number 4, second to the bottom, we've got Arrow Season 6. Another show that's fallen too far. And once again, I put it at near or at the bottom because of the fact that Arrow has way more potential than this.
Yeah.
I'll put it out there. When they focused on Ricardo Diaz, great. Everything before, which is the majority of the season, the Caden James stuff, they spent half the season focusing on this, you know, anti-Team Arrow, which when they first showed off this anti-Team Arrow, I was okay with that. I was like, this is cool. Because I was like, a lot of these villains have ties to Oliver. A lot of these villains have been built up over the course of multiple seasons. I am so down for this. And it went downhill literally from there. Literally from there. It's downhill.
Yeah, it was a nothing sandwich. Like, I mean, I feel I feel the pieces of bread, the beginning of the season and the end of the season, some very delicious pieces of bread. But ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the highlight of a sandwich is the meat in the middle. And there was no meat in the middle of the season. Stuff happened, but like you said, Caden James, that came and it went, and they took way too long with that.
And if you're a vegan, there was some spoiled lettuce in the middle of that sandwich. There was some spoiled autumn ass lettuce.
Damn, it gotta be spoiled. Man. It can't be like nicely dressed with some olive oil and some vinegar or something, you know?
There was some spoiled October ass going into the winter ass lettuce in your sandwich, man. Raise your hand if you cared about Team Arrow Civil War. Class, are you listening? Class? Nobody's raising their hand, sir. Didn't give a damn about that. And it could have been cool. Yeah. But the reason, their arguments to me, like some of them made sense. Like Dinah sort of wanting to go after Black Siren. I got that. But it went too over the top. Like, yo, these people are really mad about all this. Like, they're fighting because of this. I was just like, this isn't something where you could see both sides and you're like, I get it. It was like people were overreacting. That's what it was. People were overreacting. Like, I could see both sides and understand both sides, but people were overreacting. That's what got me. I just wasn't about it. Oliver like, oh, Diggle's right. My focus has been split. I need to go back to how I used to do this. I need to be alone. I was like, you're an idiot. I was like, you're literally dumb for that. Don't do that. And that doesn't even make any sense, sir.
And let's not forget the whole, is Arrow, does the public know who the Hood is, who Arrow is? Is Oliver Queen the Arrow? Is that public?
Again, bro.
They did it, what, like 3 times this season, almost?
Too many damn times, bro.
And it ended on that, too.
Oh my God. So many, they did like the fake outs. I ain't gonna front when Tommy Merlin popped up. I was like, that's a good fake out. Even though I know it was Christopher Chance that they kidnapped or Diggle saved at the beginning of the episode. I figured it was him. And then, but when Tommy Merlin showed up, I was like, oh shoot, I didn't expect that. But, you know, it was Christopher Chance, obviously the human target. Yeah. But yeah, it ended on that note again. And now he's out, it's out. And I'm like, the amount of times you guys have teased that, you should have just done this before. Real talk. So the season just treaded too lightly on the story. It felt like it was holding out at every turn. Yeah. Highlights, Ricardo Diaz. The episode that focused on him, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Loved him. But this felt like Ricardo Diaz season 0. To me, personally. Yeah. And, you know, another highlight, the Deathstroke 2-part episode.
Word.
Great stuff. Like I said, the beginning of the season of Arrow, I was with it. I was with Arrow. Like, you know, we did videos where we talked about it. Where we were like, yo, Arrow's definitely the top show right now. But it fell off. And that, to me, wasted potential is enough for me to bring it back down to the bottom. Case closed. But Deep Voice at number 3, right smack dab in the middle of this 5-count list. Who's coming in at number 3?
We've got Legends of Tomorrow season 3.
I would not even have expected that to be that high. Real talk.
Legends. Yeah, I mean, it's... Look, you got to give credit where credit is due. Legends of Tomorrow has been improving since season 1.
It has been. Slowly but surely, it has been. You know, I was all good with the wacky hijinks. You know, listen, I was on record on this channel as not really feeling the first half of the season. Mm-hmm. But after they started getting into the hunt for, like, the totems, yeah, I was with it. Because it felt like... I hate to say it, I hate to make this comparison, but it felt like some Infinity War type stuff. It did. Like where they got to assemble these MacGuffins. The problem, and where this compares to The Flash, and my issue with The Flash is the totems were inanimate MacGuffins. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The story was around was based on the people around the MacGuffins. Yeah. However, Flash made the MacGuffins people. And that gave them like this villain of the week syndrome, where like they didn't have time to develop some of these characters. So you don't care. They're introducing so many characters so fast. You know, some of them of varying, you know, allegiances. You know, some are good, some are bad, some just want to live their lives, but you don't care. So at Legends, they had fun around these MacGuffins, and I was like, I'm feeling this. Yeah. Like them being wacky and silly, and it was less of them screwing up. I mean, they definitely had some screw ups. But it was more so like, damn, this is actually difficult. And I had fun with that. You know what I mean? It started to grow on me a little bit. It was to the point, and I know I'm speaking for myself here. I'm not speaking for Chris Boyce over here. I didn't even mind Bebo at the end in the season finale. I should say this. I'm lying. I didn't mind Bebo as much.
Yeah.
Because it was in keeping with the show. It was in keeping with the show.
I still feel the need to get rid of that. Like, I think the best use of Bebo was what was possibly the best episode of the season for me, the Zari episode, where it was like Groundhog Day. She kept repeating the episode, and there was like a little Bebo Easter egg joke. I'm like, that's fine, because I feel it's a thing now. It's not going to go away. But Bebo cannot be the final Megatron, the final Megazord that they used to defeat the bad guy at the end of the season.
Yeah, that was a little silly. But once again, when it happened, I was cracking up because I did not expect it at all, and it was the first time Bebo was actually funny. Yeah. Because they had this big ass giant Bebo, like it got me. I was like, you know what? I often crack on Legends for not being that funny. That was funny. It legitimately caught me off guard to the point where I had to laugh. I was like, yo, I did not expect that. That was actually pretty funny.
True.
So. I enjoyed Legends. Once again, Sarah Lance, amazing character. Ava, great character introduced. Wasn't too happy about her, you know, Ava episode where turns out she's a clone. It was okay because I felt like they were teasing that for way too long. Yeah. Zari, who I was a little bit disinterested in, you know, early on when she was introduced. That solo episode, like you said, where it was like Groundhog Day. Best episode of that season for me personally, not counting the Crisis on Earth X stuff. That was phenomenal also. Yeah. But even them adding Kid Flash, like, who felt like he hadn't gotten any use whatsoever. I still feel like Kid Flash is a wasted character in Arrowverse. I feel like there's untapped potential there, but he was fun on Legends, and you know the whole squad was cool, man. Yeah, and you know, Citizen Bum Ass could go eat my my dust. But other than that, I'm.
And it's funny you mentioned Earth X. I think Legends had the best connection to that, like the best. Because it seemed like the other shows just kind of went on and think almost as if things didn't happen. But Legends, they had a direct correlation to the events of Crisis on Earth X, which is the loss of Firestorm, essentially, or Victor Stein.
Yeah. And Firestorm, you're right, because, you know, Firestorm Matrix was effectively destroyed.
Yeah. And they brought in Constantine, too.
They brought in... I mean, listen, you're naming some awesome stuff. And, like, Stein's death felt like it mattered. There was emotional importance there. Yeah. And I'm not always, you know, advocating for deaths. I feel like sometimes when people, you know, don't like a character, like, die character. I'm not always down for a death. I'm not saying I don't like Stein, but I'm saying I'm not always calling for a character's death. But that death felt impactful and well done. Yeah. You know what I mean? It made me sad when he died. I felt emotional when he died.
Great.
Except for, you know, Franz Drummer and his crocodile tears. I was like, come on, dogs. This is your partner, man. You got a psychic connection. And he was doing some crocodile tears, boy. I was like, dang, man. They couldn't spray some water under your eyes for you, man. Anyway, Deep Boys, hit him with number 2, the second best show from the Arrowverse this year.
Number 2 on our list is Supergirl Season 3.
Another shocker.
Another shocker with... finally, Supergirl found itself. I mean, with those first 2 seasons, we always said we didn't know what Supergirl was like the overall narrative was. It just seemed like it was just episodes that were just thrown out there. It didn't seem like they were working towards anything. And this one, from beginning to end, there was a clear storyline that they were moving towards. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, speaking of the beginning, that's probably the weaker part of this season.
Yeah, because we were a little bit bored with the beginning of the season, a little bit.
Yeah, but at least it made sense. They seemed to put the pieces in position at least. And again, we got to give credit where credit is due. They've improved on the show, and I think they've improved on most of the characters overall. To be quite honest with you, you know, and they brought in Mon-El. And, you know, Mon-El's Saturn Girl, Brainiac 5. And I mean, I think this Mon-El, I don't know, I kind of liked them a little bit better than Season 2. I thought he was a pretty important and crucial, well, not important and crucial, but I think he was interesting at the very least in this season. And, you know, they set up, again, I guess MacGuffins, which were the world killers in a sense, but... It was interesting. It was interesting to watch and to finally see, you know, Supergirl, the DEO, and even Guardian and Lena Luthor, like all those parties kind of working towards, you know, this large threat to Earth.
Yeah. I think a lot of those characters, for the most part, Supergirl characters did a good job at balancing the arcs of individual characters. I dare say that Supergirl had the best balancing of arcs for multiple characters out of all these shows. Yeah. Even our number 1 choice, which is obvious at this point. Yeah. But I think Supergirl's, you know, arc where she sort of is battling with, you know, embracing her human side and being Kryptonian and sort of never getting closure about, you know, the tragedies of being, you know, a human, you know, a refugee essentially. Yeah. And her struggle with Rain, where she's like, okay, I need to put this Kara thing in the pocket because, you know, I'm going through something right now. And then she's like, I'll be Supergirl. And then somebody comes and just steps on that dream. You know, Rain. And Rain beat her ass. Like, it was kind of like Rain stepped up in terms of intimidation. Yeah. And I wasn't necessarily hot on the Sam character at first. I was a little bit weary of Davis Bloom syndrome. Yeah. For fans of Smallville season 8. Where, you know, Doomsday was given a human side, Davis Bloom, and it just underwhelmed largely. I was a little bit weary of that with Sam, but you know, they won me over. I ended up caring about that character, you know, and largely because they kept her good. They didn't do this, what Davis Bloom did, which was he just turned into an evil dude, crazy dude. But Supergirl, I think, balanced Sam's arc very well. I think they balanced Supergirl's arc very well. I think they balanced Alex's arc very well, where, you know, she is there's this person who puts her life on the line and likes doing that, but she also wants more. You know, she went through her breakup with her partner, and I literally blanked on her partner's name, Maggie. And you know, she sort of realized that she wanted to become a mother, and I thought it was a great arc for her. Martian Manhunter, dude, the arc with him and his father. I mean,
pretty emotional.
That was awesome. Yeah. That was like the Martian Manhunter stuff I wanted to see. It was the Martian Manhunter stuff I didn't know I wanted to see, but I saw it. You know, and having I think Carl Landry come back to, you know, play a Martian. You know, he played, I think his name is Carl Landry. Maybe not. I'll find that out real quick while I'm talking.
Who was the Martian Manhunter or the father?
The father. But, you know, for me, I looked at that storyline and I was like, you know, to have the original voice actor for Martian Manhunter in Justice League, Carl Lumbly, by the way, is his name, not Landry. Okay. Carl Landry is a basketball player. Carl Lumbly. You know, having him being the original voice of Martian Manhunter from Justice League, having Carl Lumbly come back to sort of, you know, in an Easter egg, so to speak, where, you know, he's playing the father of Martian Manhunter. I thought that was awesome, and the emotional intensity he brought to that role was great. Was great. Everything Martian Manhunter was dope this season. Yeah. Everything Martian Manhunter was dope. I mean, Marnell, like you said, got a great storyline where, you know, he matured a lot and he was sort of torn between, you know, being on the Legion and his old life on Earth with Supergirl. And I was just like, this is great. It's really well done. Even Jimmy, who a lot of people, you know, including myself, aren't necessarily too hot on. I even respected his storyline where he was just kind of like, you know, I don't know if I want to wear this mask. You know, I thought I wanted this, but I don't know if I do. And of course, Lena Luthor sort of, you know, letting the Luthor curiosity take her a little bit too far. I think it was okay. I'm not necessarily convinced with it, but it was fine. But I think the way they weaved everyone in together throughout the storyline, throughout the story of season 3 was great. I thought it was really good. And I'm surprised I'm even saying this because we were never hot on Supergirl, ever. No. We've always talked smack about Supergirl, but they stepped up and they did it well, and I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
But Deep Boyce.
Yep.
At numero uno, we've got Black Lightning. Black Lightning, man. At number 1, the freaking... It's technically not even an Arrowverse, but it's the rookie season of this show, and it was just really well done.
Yeah.
It was really well done. I liked the tight story, largely due to the fact that there weren't 100 million episodes to watch. It was like a nice, cool 13-episode run.
Yeah, I think that's probably the major reason why it's number 1, or one of the main reasons why it's number 1 is because it didn't overstay its welcome. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna say we have Arrowverse fatigue because I feel like we're gonna, you know, ride this through to the very end and watch everything. But
yeah, and also feel like we opening up a Pandora's box if we start using that terminology like that too.
Yeah, true. I agree. I'm wary of using that. It's overused in general.
Yes,
but 20 plus episodes. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is
compared to 13 episodes that Black Lightning had. You know, and the episode length should fit the structure of the story, not vice versa. You know?
Yeah.
And that could be part of the problem with some of the shows when they're not delivering, the fact that they have to really stretch things out when they don't really have a story that they could tell within, you know, 22, 26 episodes or however many episodes per season. But yeah, you know, it was short and sweet. I mean, it wasn't perfect. You know, there were definitely not perfect. There were definitely some problems. You know, I think, you know, the overall story could have been slightly better, but I think again where they left it, it's interesting. You know, I'm interested in seeing where they're going to take it next season, especially as the family unit starts to kind of move forward as a superhero family, which isn't something that we really have on the Arrowverse. Yeah. But I think really the major I guess downfall, the major critique against Black Lightning for me personally are the villains.
Yeah,
they didn't. You know, you still kind of need your traditional antagonist, and the ones that were there, which were Tobias Whale and this other guy, the ASA.
We'll just call it the ASA. I'm not even. I don't even know the leader of the ASA. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, they just weren't. They didn't have that presence, or they didn't pack that punch. You know, I mean, the things that were villainous were just kind of the circumstances in which the people lived in Black Lightning. You know, kind of gangbanging and drug dealing, and just the casualties of that. But the actual villains, I didn't feel like they, their actions really kind of left an impact throughout the season whenever they went ahead and they did something. I mean, especially within the show, when you're kind of raising the stakes in terms of, I guess, how grim the world is, then the villains and what they do have to match that. You can't just be like, oh, Tobias Wells, like he's going to, unbutton his collar and just start, beating some people up. Like we see that in a lot of other shows. So he's got to really be dastardly to kind of step up to the plate in the next season. And the same thing with the ASA, which, in a way I kind of felt like it was a callback to blaxploitation films that usually the villains were some sort of government organization or the FBI or
it was
something
the man. Some sort of interpretation of the man.
The man. Yeah. But I don't know. I still feel like there was something missing. You have to be careful when it's an organization or people in suits.
They kind of played the easy card, which is, hey, we take kids off the streets by offering drugs, and we drugged and experimented on a bunch of kids, and we're just bad people because we have misused kids, and that's and that's it. Listen, anytime a villain does that, I'm like, you vile piece of shit. Like that's a quick way to get you to hate somebody. But the ASA lacked depth, and Proctor, who's I think the name of the leader of the ASA, he just came off as being way too hammy, and I wasn't feeling that. They say a hero's only as good as his villain, and I still think that's true. But that doesn't mean Black Lightning was bad because of those villains' weakness. I think his villain was sort of the vices of his community. Him sort of trying to lead kids down the right path and sort of teach this idea of being, a pacifist, but also having to employ violent tactics, that duality within. Him struggling to keep his family together. I think those things were sort of like the villains of the show, and it worked for him. And I think it worked for the show at large. I mean, Black Lightning, Jefferson Pierce, Cress Williams was phenomenal. Yeah. As Jefferson Pierce. Like I loved his character arc, and I thought he was really well done. I didn't expect to like Jefferson Pierce that much, and I think his family is endearing too. I love Jennifer Pierce, and Anissa Pierce. I like Jennifer Pierce too, but I really loved Anissa Pierce, Thunder, played by Nafisa Williams. I hope I pronounced that right. And she was great. I just loved her fight the man, fight the power attitude. And I love how that was sort of juxtaposed to, Jefferson Pierce trying to teach this idea of pacifism. And then he finds out she has powers, and all of a sudden they're a great duo. They had first of all, awesome. Black Lightning had an awesome fighting style.
Word.
Like when he was kicking ass, almost like the only person who kicks ass better than him in the Arrowverse is probably Sarah Lance and Oliver Queen himself.
Yeah.
Not sure there's any two people that kick better ass than those two.
Agree.
And Black Lightning was out here doing some martial arts shit. I was like, damn, this is high. I wasn't too I liked Jennifer Pierce. I wasn't too interested in her, teen angst stuff, but I liked the character. And of course, Lynn Stewart, played by Christine Adams. I thought she was great as sort of the matriarch of that family. But as you said, Tobias Whale, huge weakness. Like, he literally just spent the whole season like, Black Lightning, I hate these people. And he'd be like, look at these Negroes. They don't know how to show respect. He was just growling all the time about everything. I was like, we need a little bit more than that from Tobias Whale, man. All right. I need a little bit more from you than thinking you need a lozenge because your throat must be jacked up. So I enjoyed Black Lightning, aside from that, because I like the fact that they tackled social issues. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want social heroes issues in my comic book stuff. Comic books have always incorporated that since the beginning of their inception. And I like the fact that they tackled that head on. Also, shout outs to James Remar as Peter Gamby. I thought he was great too. Also, just finding out that he wasn't just the tech guy, sort of playing the man in the chair for Jefferson Pierce. I also like that he had a background, tying him to the ASA, and it gave him an edge. And I like that. So I'm excited for season 2. As you said, it had its problems. I don't think it's better than like Flash season 1 or like Arrow season 2 or maybe even Arrow season 5. But I really did enjoy this season, and I think it was the best. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Let us know what your DC TV season rankings are. Let us know what you thought about what we said. And by all means, support the Spectacular Spoiler League by hitting that subscribe button and dropping a like on this video. Let us know that you enjoyed the conversation. And turn on notifications by hitting that little bell icon so you can be up to date with the latest and greatest coming from the Spectacular Spoiler League. We'll see you guys on the next one.